Hello,
Hey,
how are you?
hey, how you doing? I
I'm
see
doing well.
we caught you in the middle of traffic.
No, I'm not in the middle of traffic. I was actually en route for a story, but I have time to do the interview in the car, so we're good. This is a good time.
Okay, thank you. My name is Joe Shanks, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Hollywood South Urban Film Festival, and I'll be serving as your host for this interview. I just want to thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay. First of all, what made you decide to get into filmmaking? How did you get started?
Well, for me, I was already studying journalism at UL Lafayette,
Hmm.
and I was taking production classes, and I got really interested in some stuff behind the camera. So I figured, why not take a chance and do something I've never done before, which is film a whole entire documentary
Right.
and just, you know, tell a more long form type of story. Because in broadcasting, we only have maybe 90 seconds, 60 seconds to tell a story. And I always wanted to do more of a long form storytelling. So this was the perfect opportunity. And yeah, I'm just glad that it worked out.
Yeah, I also majored in broadcast journalism too. That's one of the main reasons why I really want to do this interview with you. So you came up with the idea to do this documentary film where you were undergrad, right?
Yeah, that is correct. So it wasn't for any of my classes in undergrad. This was just more of an independent kind of project that I wanted to take on solely just because I wanted to do more filmmaking. So that's
Mm.
why I decided to just go ahead and do it and just take the opportunity as I saw it.
So what responsibilities did you serve on doing this project? What was some of the hats that you had to wear?
I feel like I had to wear all the hats.
Yeah.
Producer, director, writer, everything that you saw in the film is what I shot. Um, the whole entire sequence, how the story was told, all of that was done by me. I had maybe a few people who gave me their insight or their opinion on it, but overall the entire concept was mine, so I wore every single hat.
Yeah, okay. I mean that really was a lot, especially, you setting up the camera, you sort of giving the instructions as how the storyline is going to unfold. Now the guy's name is Don
Volume.
Valian. Valian. Okay.
Yeah,
Now
that's
you
those Louisiana names. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're related to Don, right?
yes, we are cousins. We are first cousins on my mother's side. So I knew Don practically my whole life, and we just got extremely close through this project. So I'm really glad that he was able to see it before he unfortunately passed in May of last year unexpectedly. So I'm glad that he was able to see what the outcome of this project was, and then being able to reach out to other sickle cell warriors who endured the same thing that he endured his entire life.
Now, was this something that ran in the family, or was this something that he had discovered that he had, and you wanted to tackle this story? And how did he feel when you went to him and you told him, "I want to kind of document, your ups and your downs, the things that you're going to on a daily basis." How did he feel when you decided to come to him with this idea?
Well, part of the first part of your question, so sickle cell disease is a hereditary. So his mom and his dad both had sickle cell trait, which eventually went down to him having full blown sickle cell disease. So I'm not sure if it runs on my mom's side of the family. I'm not completely sure who carries the trait or who doesn't. But unfortunately for Don, both of his parents carried the trait. And when both spouses have the trait, there's a 50-50 chance that the child could have sickle cell disease. And unfortunately, out of the four of them, his three sisters and him, he was the one who ended up having the full-blown sickle cell disease. So I approached Don about this project. I want to say May.
Hello? Hello? I guess she froze. Yeah, we'll wait.
Okay. Did it get disconnected?
Yeah, yeah, you froze up. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So what was the last thing I said? Because I could pick up.
You were saying out of the four siblings, you said he was the only one that had picked up the trait of the sickle cell.
Correct. Correct. So he ended up having the full blown disease. So that's what happened with him. Now, back to your question about how I approached him about it. So I approached him in about May 2018. And at that time, he was having different fundraisers in our hometown in Opelousas to get money for his kidney transplant. So my mom actually kind of introduced the idea to me saying, hey, well, maybe you should do a 90-second type of little package about Don just trying to donate money for his transplant. And I said, no, I think his story deserves a little bit more than that.
Right.
I didn't know at the time what that would look like,
Mm-hmm.
but I had the idea in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea kind of dawned on me later on that I wanted to try a documentary. So I
Mm-hmm.
called him um, like the beginning of May, and this was when I was done with finals. So I called him. It's like I introduced him, told him what I was thinking. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, let's do it. So the
Right.
next week, we started filming, and we were on and off for about 9 months, and we got it done.
So you actually followed him like every single day, or you kind of periodically, picked your spots where you, because he had a barbershop, he was running a barbershop at the same time. He was sort of going through like treatments and things like that that the documentary had shown. So did you like do it as like a day-to-day basis thing, or you sort of like picked your spots where you would go and film?
We were doing it bi-weekly, just depending on his schedule, because the thing about Don, he was a workaholic. He had 5 6 different projects going on,
Oh, really?
and try and get them all done at the same time, so it was hard for me to keep up with him. But I
Right.
kept on track. It's like, hey, every Wednesday or every Thursday we're gonna sit down, we're gonna talk, and then after that you go and do what you have to do. So we dedicated that on a bi-weekly basis. And when he went to New Orleans for his transplant, that's when we stopped filming for a while. It was probably 3 or 4 weeks that we had stopped filming. So I waited until he came back home because he was going through treatments, and that process was on and off for him. Some days he would feel good, some days it was really bad. So I kind of staggered when I would see him, and just waited until he came back home and he was comfortable talking. So
Mhm.
we were on and off for about 9 months.
Yeah. Well, how was that on the family? Because there was sometimes you would see he would have a lot of energy in his spirit, but then there was some days that, because of the things that he was going through, his energy was sort of low, and it was kind of like night and day. And the family was like right there with him through a lot of those periods. How was that on them during that time period? Did it take a toll on them?
Well, the thing with Don, you just had to know him. He would talk about his disease only if you asked. Well, he was open. He was very open about his disease, but he never showed it, which I thought was incredible, because the way that he described the pain that he went through on a daily basis was just excruciating. I couldn't even imagine what he went through, but he never showed it. He never
Right.
complained. He was always a very positive, high-spirited type of person, and you would never know that was going on until he talks about it. So
Mhm.
I thought that was remarkable. But I think it definitely did take a toll, especially on his wife, because she was almost like his caregiver for most of it. So she's seen him at his highest, she's seen him at his lowest, And I'm sure it took a toll on her having to take care of him because she's also an educator. So she would have to take time off if he had to go to the hospital and he had sickle cell crisis. And sometimes his crisis could last a week, it could last a few days, it could even last a month, depending on how bad it is at that time. So I think it definitely took a toll on her because she saw it every single day.
Yeah, and I had to actually go and do some research to actually find out what the outcome was. I think I went on one of your social media pages, and you kind of showed that he actually didn't pull through. So well, what do you have going on now? I know that you graduated, and I think you're a local reporter down there in
Yeah,
Louisiana. Yeah.
yeah, that is correct. So
So,
I am a
so,
reporter.
don't blame me. So are you your own shooter, or do you take somebody out with you, or
The
do you
only
go?
time I have a privilege of having a photographer is if I have to do a live shot or if there's breaking news. So most of the time I am my own photographer, which I've been doing for years. So I was fine with it.
Okay, okay. Well, how can people? I think because you have a website too. How can people like follow you? And if you have something else coming up, how can people like follow you or what you got going on?
Yeah, I definitely have some more projects in the works. So my social media, all of them is Iman Boyd TV.
Mm-hmm,
My website is www.imanboyd.com. And for people who
mm-hmm,
can't spell, EMAN Boyd BOYD, and then TV. So on Instagram, that's the name. Twitter,
mm-hmm.
Facebook as well. So if anybody wants to reach out or has an idea or just wants to show their support, that's where they
Yeah.
can find me.
Okay. Wow, we really appreciate you joining us for this interview and giving us a little more insight as to how it was created and shot. The movie Sickle Cell Warrior is a great documentary. So thank you for joining us, and good luck to everything you have going on in the future.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay, all right. Talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.